say anyway?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hello, it's Mike Matthews. Welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. I'm your host, Mike Matthews. I talk really quickly. That's what this podcast is, me talking really fast.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Not really. It's episode 2485, and I went somewhere to have a drink. But don't drink and drive. I had a beer in a place at a golf course, and it was very clear that I have a face like a horse. No, that I don't play golf. But I had
Mike's Daily Podcast.
a beer in the lovely pastoral surroundings of the golf course there in Podcastro Valley. And what happened
Mike's
next was that
Daily
the guy gave me the beer.
Podcast.
I sat down at the table.
Yeah!
And the table wobbled. The table wobbled. That means when the table wobbles, you know, that kind of thing. Hey, I was going to play you a little thing here called Mike's Daily Podcast and cover a couple of interesting things on this day of many interesting, it's almost Labor Day. Everybody's excited about that. Everybody's excited about wrapping it up so they can go and have fun and enjoy family or maybe a barbecue or the last look at summer or whatever this weekend is good for. Air conditioning will be definitely good for this weekend. And enjoying friends. All the economic good news from jobs to inflation was just a momentary blip. The worst is yet to come. What? Yes, the past month has shown positivity for the U.S. economy with the latest consumer price index report showing signs of cooling. But this good news doesn't mean the U.S. economy is safe. From inflation to consumer spending, there are clear signs that the economy is still in danger of becoming a recession. Ay, ay, ay.
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's a picture of me worried. No. We'll go with something recently. Yes, probably another picture from Oakland. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com because I walked around Oakland on a nice recent walk and saw a bunch of interesting things. Took a lot of pictures. Probably Jack London Square. I had some fun pictures I took from there. But this is from Business Insider, businessinsider.com. Over the past few weeks, signs that sky-high inflation is cooling off have been the shift that's garnered the most attention. Someone who gained a lot of my attention was the late, great Basil the Boxer. So wonderful a dog there has never been. Except for your dog, probably. I just talked to somebody who's a father, and his 20-something son lives in the house with him still and just got a dog because he's getting over a breakup. And what better way to do that than to have a puppy? Yes, he got a puppy, an all-encompassing puppy. So that will definitely take most of his attention. It's premature to ring the all-clear bell, according to Business Insider. Even with the improvements to traditional metrics, underlying measures of inflation are still running hot. Wage growth is one sign that America's battle with high inflation is far from over. Atlanta's Fed wage tracker was 6.3% in July and then 6.7% on average over the past 3 months. So it needs to be closer to 3.5. So here it is at 6. It needs to be down to 3 to fuel broader inflation. And any discussion of the U.S. economy's strength seems to start with consumer data. American consumers have plenty going for them. A low unemployment rate, built up savings thanks to the pandemic, and strong household balance sheets. There is also this thing where, gosh, people are finding jobs so quickly. Talking to the same father I was just mentioning earlier, he's got a daughter who's in Vegas and getting, she was just about to leave her job because they weren't paying enough. And all of a sudden they gave her a raise. Ding! So she's now going to stick around a little bit longer. But yeah, she could have just as easily. There were job offers just down the street. Private domestic demand. Did I mention she's in Vegas? But I mentioned the economy in Vegas seems to be really doing well. She's more in the hotel industry, but more the marketing side of the hotel industry. Hey, here's a fun thing to do. Does your car have a Bluetooth connection? In Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, we sometimes do this thing called karaoke. Here it's more like scarioke. But have you seen that there are all these videos on YouTube that got karaoke versions of some of your favorite songs? Now, don't read the lyrics if you're driving, don't read the lyrics. Of course, you're going to want to, so maybe this isn't a good idea. Don't do this then. Don't do what I was about to say, singing along to karaoke song. Only if you've memorized the words to the song. Some songs are easy. For example, REM's The One I Love. He just repeats the same verse 3 times. Or Unchained Melody, the Righteous Brothers, that song, or Elvis, whichever one you like better, LeAnn Rimes, just repeats the same verse twice. Private domestic, so it might be easier to remember, to memorize the whole song. Private domestic demand, a key measure used by economists to forecast unemployment growth, cooled in the first half of the year. Some increase in the jobless rate seems inevitable, despite July's impressive jobs report. The slowing in private demand comes even as employee hours put in on the job has surged. Really, company incomes are growing slower, even as the amount they're having to pay workers is increasing. Like I mentioned earlier, the company that gave someone I know a raise, and I've actually know a lot of people that got raises recently. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. A sign of lower labor productivity and tighter profit margins. And even with income slowing, the amount people were spending in the first half of the year rose. This means the increase in consumer spending in the first half of the year was driven exclusively by them tapping into their savings. They were spending more. People like you and me. Another warning sign for the economy is the housing market. Activity has ground to a halt, especially with the rise in mortgage interest rates. They've gotten higher and higher. Jerome Powell keeps raising them. Interest rates, mortgage interest rates have risen, and that has been a blow to housing demand. I was forced to sell a house because my mom sadly passed away, so I had to sell her house, and there was a reverse mortgage involved and all kinds of that. So I had to take care of that, get that done right away, and I had to sell the house. And everything was telling me, get this house sold as quickly as possible. And then the house was about to be sold, and something happened. There was a snag, and I had to drop the price again. So I did not get at all what I wanted for it. But it could have been a lot worse. Let's put it that way. And we're dealing with the Florida market where insurance is crazy. If somebody wants to, get a loan, they got to make sure the insurance is all in order. And it's hard to get insurance. And then you've got the whole hurricane season you got to worry about. If consumers and the housing market aren't likely to kickstart a strong economic uptick, non-residential business fixed investment companies spending money to upgrade equipment and software is unlikely to be much of a driver for growth. And finally, the tech industry, which accounted for the majority of the growth in business fixed investment over the past 2 years, has been slammed by a steep stock market sell-off. It's also the industry most responsible for the recent increase in layoffs. Yes, the tech industry, most responsible for the recent increase in layoffs. And they live in this weird world, the tech world, this bubble where reality doesn't touch them. So they feed They feed their employees all day with whatever they want. They give them all, they throw all this lavishness on top of them because they feel like, oh, this is going to keep going up and up and up. But even they are starting to see a ceiling. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley.
Anyway.
Look who's here. Hello, my commercial. It's Madame Rootabega and daughters. This is fascinating. Oh, thank you. Do you like to hear about economic stuff?
Yes.
Did you marry an economist?
Yes.
Do you have a lot of money?
No.
Oh, and look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, we wanted to hear you sing a song today.
Yeah, sing a song. Do you know that? He's so quiet. Yes. All right. I'm gonna play you a song. This is a new segment. Now, you've been catching on the podcast, me playing a lot of stuff from the old days, from the old mic radio days. I'm calling this segment the Flashback You with Matthews. Wait, Flashback Yous with Matthews? Or maybe it's just a Flashback Matthews. Something like that. I'm working on it. It's a process. It's a work in progress. And, okay, so I recorded a couple songs. This is probably about 20 years ago, so we are going back in time. And here's a little bit of one of them. I don't know what this is. I'm just playing this randomly, so let's listen. Do you recognize that? Cafe Anyway. Dun, dun. That's a song called Proof that I did, by the way. Okay, there you go. Maybe a little bit more. Why do we believe when we've been here before? That song's called Before. And that song actually, yeah, I recorded that probably 20 years ago, maybe wrote it closer to 25 years ago, although it sounds like something from the 80s, but there you go. That's a little something. The Mike Matthews Flash, the Matthews Flash Views. No, the Flashback with Matthews. There we go, something like that. Okay, and also, finally, let's wrap this show up, because I've been getting some interesting people sending me stuff to Mike's Daily Podcast at gmail.com and playing me stuff, new music that they've done. And I'd like to play, this is our segment called, it's called Be Good. It's called it's tough remembering all these segment names. It's called Mike's Daily Podcast. No, that's this whole thing. The whole thing is called Mike's Daily Podcast, but this short thing is called the Matthews New Tunes Feud, and this is a band called Afternoon Bike Ride.
I'm holding in on understanding why my spine's so.
Okay, do you like that song by Afternoon Bike Ride? Or do you like this one better from, let's see, it's called Unstoppable versus Bad Intentions. Let's see. Here's a... All right, that song's called Satellites. So, now, which one did you like better? Did you like the one by Unstoppable and Bad, or, Frick, I know a guy named Fricky. His last name was Fricky. Did you like the one by Afternoon Bike Rides? I think it was called For the Breakdowns. Or did you like Unstoppable times Bad Intentions Satellites? Afternoon Bike Ride or Unstoppable times Bad Intentions. Both bizarre names. But you can call me 336MM Daily.
Call now. 336MM Daily.
That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily isn't what this podcast is. And with more ways to reach me, it's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.